everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly. This is the show where I give you guys the top 5 prog news headlines for the week, introduce you guys to some new prog singles to listen to, and give you updates on the channel and what's happening here with Nathan on Shuffle. I skipped last week because I just didn't feel like there was a lot of news items to dig into and thought it would be better to hold it off till this week, and I think it was a good decision because there's a lot of good news items that came out this week that make for quite an exciting show, so I think it should be a good one today. So thank you guys for joining me. It's November 10th, 2023, and let's dive into the top headlines of the week. New releases is where I usually like to start my list here. So number 1, new releases from last week, since I wasn't on last week. November 3rd, Gong, Unending Ascending came out. So they're psychedelic space rock stalwarts who've been in the genre for quite some time. So that's a cool one to check out. Also, Green Lung came out with their occult masterpiece, This Heathen Land, more in a Ghost, Black Sabbath style vein, more doomy, harder metal stuff, but really cool, really vintage sounding, and a really fun ride. So one to check out if you're into that more doom metal type scene, classic metal, stuff like that. And then today's release, Virgilio, Morse, and Jennings with their release of Sophomore, which I reviewed on the channel this week. So a really cool singer-songwriter folk album from 3 pretty notable prog stalwarts in the modern prog scene. So definitely one to check out if you love those 3-part harmonies, acoustic guitars, folky sound, really great melodies. That's definitely right up your alley if you're into that kind of thing. So item number 2 on the list, I was really excited to see this pop up. Porcupine Tree is releasing their Closure/Continuation.Live set. So this is a live performance of Closure Continuation, and of course a smattering of their big songs throughout their career. This is their tour that they went on in support of Closure Continuation. They had, of course, the trio of musicians of Stephen Wilson, Richard Barbary, and Gavin Harrison on stage, but then were joined by Randy McStein on guitars and Nate Navarro on bass, playing a lot of classic tracks from throughout their discography, but also pretty much the entire new record as well. This live recording was captured on November 7th, 2022 at Amsterdam's 17,000 capacity Ziggo Dome. So it's really a cool visual experience, putting the viewer right at the heart of the stage as psychotropic visuals explode behind the band. Really cool stuff going on. There's a lot of pre-ordering, a lot of different versions of this. There's a 2 CD/2 Blu-ray deluxe edition, Blu-ray DVD, and 4 LP vinyl box set. There's exclusive bundles that have t-shirts and vinyl slip mats and postcards, all that kind of stuff. It seems like it's pretty cool set, pretty cool bundles, pretty cool versions that you could get this in. I know it's off to pre-order on Burning Shed for sure, and I don't know if it's going to pop up other places, but of course probably Porcupine Tree's own official store and stuff like that. But really cool, should be a great live set to capture this latest tour they were on. I went and saw them live with my dad, and it was a fantastic experience, so cool to be able to re-experience that, and I'm excited for this release. Item number 3, I want to talk a little bit about the Beatles. I mentioned them briefly in my previous New Music Weekly, but they just released a single, Now and Then, which was a long-awaited maybe final Beatles song that they're calling it. Of course, bringing in a little bit of a AI element and taking some demo recordings from John Lennon and having the other guys play around it and create a new single from that material. So that's a really cool thing to see them together on a single in some way, even though, of course, members of the band have passed since then. But just a cool way to celebrate the Beatles and to hear a new track from them. And there's a great new video as well that accompanies it that is really special and meaningful, especially for those strong Beatles fanatics who have been really wanting some semblance of new material or something to dig their teeth into. This has been a fantastic way to bring the Beatles back into the popular music consciousness, I think, and it's been a pretty big single and release that a lot of people have really loved. And they're also have released their iconic Red and Blue compilations, a re-release of those with a lot of new mixes and things like that, some extra tracks. So kind of a boosted, expanded version of those classic compilation albums that they released, I believe, back in the 70s. There's the 1962 to 1966 red version, and then the 1967-1970 blue version. And I talked about these as one of the most influential, important albums in my history of life. And I think a lot of people my age probably feel similarly, that this was a great entry point into the Beatles, into music in general. So that's why it's important to me. I've pre-ordered the vinyl, so that should be coming in within the next week or so at my house. So I'm excited to listen through those. And I know a lot of people aren't that high on compilations. Like, why don't you just listen to the regular studio albums and such? But it's just more of a nostalgia thing to be able to hear these compilations as I heard them originally when I was young, just getting into music and being really excited about this stuff. So that was something I wanted to mention just because of how personally it touches me to hear new Beatles music and to get those classic Red and Blue on a new version in vinyl format. I'm really excited for. So they've been reissued before in vinyl, so it's not really anything new totally, but with all the new mixes and extra tracks and things, it does make it a more appealing package. So that should be cool to get into when it comes and arrives at my place here. So item number 4, this just was basically announced today. Caligulas Horse announced a new album, Charcoal Grey, and to introduce that album, they've released a single called Golem. This is an Australian progressive metal band that's pretty notable in that genre. A really great band with a great string of records that are just fantastic and showcase a strong ability to play. They're just really great. I loved Rise Radiant, which was their previous record. This new one is coming out in January. I believe it's January 24th, if my memory serves me right, or January 26th, perhaps. It's coming out via Inside Out Music. So not too long to wait for that. You know, it's already coming out the first of the year next year. So one of the first early releases that we'll see come out. Probably one I'll cover on the channel. This is their 6th studio album. It looks like it has a cool suite on it, a big lengthy connecting songs of this Charcoal Grey suite. So we get this bigger piece of music that could show a lot of cool progressive rock exploration. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and the new single is a great one, so a great indication of things to come. So a cool band that I wanted to bring attention to and to talk about here on my news items. Number 5, I saw this and just was kind of curious about it and interested. I saw that there's an hour of stunning Peter Gabriel-Era Genesis footage that's received the 4K treatment. So a bit remastered and looking as pristine as it possibly can. This is footage from 1973, I believe. This is from their UK leg of the Selling England by the Pound tour. They went to this studio, BBC studio in Shepperton, west of London, and did a 5-song set on Italian television featuring Dancing with the Moonlit Night, I Know What I Like, In Your Wardrobe, Watcher of the Skies, Supper's Ready, and the musical box. So basically like a smattering of their biggest, greatest songs, I would say. So this was available. This 16 millimeter footage was transferred to digital back, it looks like, during that 1970-1975 box set that came out. I believe that came out in the 2000s. It seems like a high-definition version was produced in 2013. So this footage has existed and is something that's been out there and available, but now it's been remastered into this 4K format to look as pristine and nice as it ever has, and basically shows Genesis at their prime, doing what they do best. And so it's definitely notable and something to look at. I believe that it's on YouTube and available to watch. So I'll put the link down in the description below. So I just thought that was a cool thing to talk about, because it's just a really great period for the band, one of the biggest, best prog bands in the world, and that should be watched by everybody. A cool new remastered version. Then a couple bonus items I wanted to mention also, some cleanup from last week and a couple of different things. Bruford's One of a Kind is getting a vinyl reissue. Of course, this is a group helmed by Bill Bruford. This album is going to be reissued on vinyl through Winterfold Records through Cherry Red on November 24th. Features the lineup of Alan Holdsworth on guitar, Dave Stewart on keyboards, Jeff Berlin on bass, and Bill Bruford, of course, doing the percussion. So that should be cool to see this reissue from the original 1979 makes, taken from those original analog tapes, and comes in a replica sleeve from that era. So it should be a cool piece of history and something for all classic prog fans to enjoy. Of course, Bill Bruford is just a legend in the prog scene and one of the best. And this was around his UK time, I believe. Maybe UK came just right before, I believe, this record came out, so it was a little bit of an offshoot from UK proper. So really cool release that I wanted to bring attention towards. Queensryche, they're announcing the Origins tour, where they're going to perform both of their classic early recordings, their self-titled EP, and their first studio album, The Warning. So a little bit of a chance to get some history from Queensryche, to see them perform some really early material. This tour launches on March 22nd to 2024 in Houston, Texas at the Hells Heroes Festival, and runs until May 12th. In Florida. It ends in Florida. So a really cool little tour. They're playing with a band called Armored Saint, and so this should be really cool to highlight some of their early original material. Of course, the band was formed back in 1982, and so it should be cool to see them perform this material in their entirety. So I wanted to point that one out. And also the Scottish prog rockers Palace have announced that they're releasing a new album called The Messenger, their first since Alan Reed announced that he had rejoined the band earlier this year. So this album, The Messenger, will come out on December 15th. There's a video trailer for the album. The album reunites Reed with bassist Graham Murray, guitarist Neil Mathewson, 2/5 of the lineup that recorded 1986's The Wedge album, Reed's debut with Palace. So this should be a cool release with some really, notable original members of the group coming together. And so Alan Reed left the group back in 2010 and was replaced by singer Paul Mackey, who sang on their subsequent releases. But he's back in the group, and it should be a cool release, They describe it as where the Sentinel echoed the concerns of the Cold War and the shadows it casts on all of us. The Messenger finds the band reacting to the existential threats to the world we find ourselves in. From what we've done to the world to the politics that shape it, the album encapsulates a spectrum of emotions, blending darkness with optimism, robust rock melodies with moments of introspection and marvel. It rocks out, yet has moments of tenderness and wonder. So the album will be available as a limited edition digibook on CD and also as a digital album. So really cool stuff there. Now we'll get into the Prague Singles list. There's quite a lengthy list of singles also. I've got the live version of Harridan by Porcupine Tree on my list, coming from that live set that they're releasing that I mentioned. Di Virgilio, Morse, and Jennings released The Weary One as a single today to coincide with their album release, which is really cool because it's a live video of them actually performing together. I think the only time really that they've sung together in a room as a trio. So it's a cool look into them blending those harmonies live and having a really introspective, beautiful performance. So definitely check that out. The single from Caligulas Horse that I mentioned, Golem, is on my list. Glass Hammer released a video of the return of Daedalus from their recent album Arise that I reviewed on the channel. Just incredible instrumental, fireworks and some cool prog music mixed with some heavier, maybe early proto-metal type stuff, and just spacey and psychedelic and all those things wrapped into one with some great musical moments. That's definitely one to check out. Steven Wilson released a single, Beautiful Scarecrow, which is from, of course, his recent album, The Harmony Codex. So a cool animation that he's known for. Really interesting to check out the video that accompanies that track. The Beatles, Now and Then, I'm putting on the list, of course, the new Beatles track. And then Ben Sinister have 2 tracks that are really cool. You know, Ben Sinister are more of a pop rock type band, but with some progressive leanings. But they really sound like a classic vintage, maybe 70s type band brought into a modern day. So I really like their sound and the singles they have called Renegade and Can I Get Your Name. So wanted to slip those in as well on the list. So those are the items that I have for you guys today. A lot to dive into and to check out, I hope. As for the channel, this week I did a Classic Albums 101 episode with my wife about ELO and their album Out of the Blue, which was a lot of fun to dive into. We listened to a track from the album together live on the video, and then we go off separately off camera, listen to the full album and talk in full about the album and our impressions about it. And usually it's a first time of Jana listening to the album, so it's cool to get her early impressions and thoughts. So that was a fun video to film. We also filmed a review together for the DiVirgilio, Morse and Jennings album Sophomore, which we both really loved, so you could get mine and Jana's takes on our review of it. Just a fantastic singer-songwriter, folk-inspired album from 3 notable prog stalwarts who I just love to death. I could just listen to them read the phone book and be totally captivated and love everything they do. So as for this week upcoming, I have another review coming up for Cyan this time, a really cool new prog album that I've been enjoying. That's a little bit of an assembly of some notable prog figures in the modern age. Doing some really cool material, bringing back to life some older material from the leader of that group, Robert Reed. So definitely a cool one to check out that I'll be talking about in more depth coming up this week. And of course, the usual Prog Song Sunday with Jana will be coming out as well. And I'm prepping a lot for like the end of year type stuff that should be coming down the pike later, second half of December or so. There should be a lot of cool countdowns and me talking about my favorite albums for the year, doing my album tournament stuff. So I'm listening to a lot of the albums that came out through this year to try to cultivate a really good list for the channel. So should be a lot of cool stuff coming up. A lot of great little last minute releases coming out, trying to vie for that top album spot. Really excited to talk about a lot of it. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the channel, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Please continue to stick with me. I'm really excited to do this stuff. Grateful for all the comments and for everything you guys do. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I would really appreciate it. Helps me grow the channel and to get more feedback on what's working and what I should be doing with the channel moving forward. So thank you guys so much. I hope to catch you in a future episode, and as always, enjoy the music. Thank you guys, everybody. Bye.